I'm Henry Denotter, and this is my son Jeremy. We do our own spraying, and we basically cover approximately 3,500 acres of actual spraying area, which is multiple sprays on all the crops that we have, and we may cover anywhere from 75 to 80 sites in a spraying season. I don't cover them, Jeremy covers them. He's the sprayer driver. So this little unit with this gator and pull type sprayer is something we threw together a couple of years ago out of necessity, and we found it ended up being an excellent little trainer because the computer for the rate control is the same computer we use on our other two sprayers. So what we ended up doing is with the next generation come along, we let them ride with us first as we're doing some spraying, and mostly it was spot spraying, perimeter spraying with it, and then eventually we'd switch seats. So we could ride along and say, you know, you need to back in the corner a little bit better, or you need to do this, you didn't turn that on fast enough. And after a while, when we got to be a bit of a pain in the butt, we'd get off and we let the next generation spray with this particular unit. Actually, the first couple times we just put water in it and said, go practice, and you need to keep an eye on what the pressure is, how fast you're driving, and are you using the right amount of product per acre. It should work out. So left them on their own. Basically couldn't get too much trouble. It has a 45-foot boom, so it's very similar to a field sprayer. And then eventually we put Roundup in it, and they did some spot spraying, and now we've used it lots of times in the spring for a little bit of burn down, especially when it's a little bit tough. You don't want to take a heavy machine out there, and it's just an excellent tool. And the same token, when we go to our normal field spraying operations, if we have an electronic problem, we can come back here and steal the part, we can steal the pump. It's all interchangeable, everything's the same. And it's not as, when they go from this and go to our field sprayer, it's not as intimidating because everything's familiar, the controls all work the same. And it makes it easier. Jeremy is does most of the spraying, 95%, and he's very comfortable with the machine. It's not intimidated by it at all. Okay, so the reason we came up with this, it's easy to walk around, easy to work with. It's hard to teach somebody to spray with the Wilmar sprayer because the cab is about the size of a telephone booth. You can't both get in there, and there's no buddy seat. So to go through everything and say this is how it needs to be done, and to get out and close the door, like, it just didn't work. We tried it with my one son, and it just didn't work out. So we seen this, we picked this up and modified it to go behind this gator, and as we got using it, we realized that it was a perfect training opportunity, and that's what we use it for. And plus, we used a lot of similar parts that are used on the big sprayer, and it just one thing led to another. It's not the prettiest machine in the world, and we'll probably end up doing a little bit of beautification there as we get going, but it does the job. This is actually a raindrop tip used for liquid fertilizer. It gives you a low pressure, high volume spray pattern about 5 feet across, and it's really handy, especially after wheat. We go down wheat fields, and it helps burn back encroaching weeds that are coming across coming out of the fence row into the field. It's very simple. Just couples on there. That's just water. And we just put it in there, and when we don't need it, we just put a plug in it. Nothing fancy. Plus, it'll spray 10 feet into the field across the back, and we just leave the booms folded up. It's quick, it's easy, and it's still auto rate control. This is our complete spray system. This is our truck and trailer with a sprayer on it. We have lock boxes on it to put chemicals in. We have racks to put any kind of chemical cubes on it. We have metered induction system. It is a complete system that you can just get in and drive to the field and go spray. Okay, so the first thing on the truck is the chemical storage box, which is identified and lockable. This lid opens up. Chemicals that we would need at the time of spraying, we just get what we need for what the season is, are stored in here. And then on the side here, we have some different pieces of paper that are stapled on there. We've already predetermined what we're going to spray at what rate, and we've talked to the operator, and Usually we post them there or write them right on there. So when you are in the field and if there is doubt, you just go double check. And everything is all calculated out ahead of time. In this particular box, this is just a spare parts bin. We have Roundup in a cube here. We try and buy all the Roundup bulk so we don't have to worry about containers. It has its own pump, has a metering system. Everything's metered into the hopper, and from the hopper it's put into the sprayer. This is the induction hopper. If we have to use jugs, once the jugs are emptied, we can just slip them over the post, turn the valve on. It'll triple rinse the jug. It's going to use clean water, or it's going to use water because we're using clean water out of the tank. It's pressurized. Shut it off. That's the end of the jug. And if we need to rinse the hopper out, we can just turn the valve the other way and it rinses out the hopper. Everything goes through the pump, everything's mixed and goes right directly into the sprayer.
So this is our sprayer. It's a 60-foot sprayer which will hold 500 gallons of chemical, and will spray 50 acres at 10 gallons the acre, which you can run about 8 to 10 miles per hour with normal running speed. Run a little slower on the perimeters to keep the drift down and the pressure down. It's articulated steering at this point. It's 4-wheel drive, hydrostat, which is a lot easier to drive. It's still a little weird with the articulation. It's something to get used to. It has a Cultiva GPS. It is not auto steer. It's a guidance system. It has Dickie John flow rate monitors, which you can adjust rather easily to what you want. It's got its clean water supply. The tank's up top with this here. This is the foam marker tank and the pump. And for clean out, it's rather simple. Open all your valves, and each one of these tubes has a valve on the end for emptying out the system completely. Tips are 20-inch spacing. Hydraulic unfold. It's simple. The GPS is the guidance system. It runs along with the Dickie John, but GPS fails, we got the foam marker as a backup, or whatever system you want to use. Like in corn stalks, you can count rows and go through the field, no problem, as long as you know what your spacing is. This one has hydraulically adjusting wheels to set for row spacings, to run down the middle of the rows, as opposed to missing one and hitting the other. This is our sprayer's cab. It is relatively small for what most people would expect out of a sprayer. This is all the controls here. The hydrostat, the boom on and off, the GPS switch which will tell it when you're spraying or not. Our boom shut-offs, so we have 3 boom sections plus wingtips. Foam marker control. These are our flow rate control boxes. One's speed and one's your application rate. The engine gauges, lights, ignition. These are all the boom controls. Your up, down, and unfold. This switch is for the wheel tread adjustment for in and out. Down here is our pump disengage lever, which will lock the pump on. Our throttle. The air compressor is down here behind the seat, with the controls for adjusting the airbag pressures on all the wheel units. The GPS, like I say, is just a guidance system. It only tells you where you've been and what you have left. It is a reference point. It does track some data on it. Like I said, the cab is relatively small, and for a bigger guy it is kind of tough to work in here because your knees hit the dash, but it's still, you can't bring anyone with you just because it's that small. So this unit with the control valves, which is the outside 2 are the wingtips and the inside 3 are boom sections. Each boom section has an independent filter, plus there's one directly off the pump which is on the supply line for the system. Each boom on the boom sections have tips that are angled back to shoot into the canopy, as opposed to when you're driving by it just kind of falls in. It helps penetrate better. And this here is the pressure sensor for the Dickie John system. Your flow rate. It will automatically adjust regardless of what section is on. So this is our logbook, just a binder. In it we have our master field list and the farm list. Each field has a specific number and acreage and a location description of what it is, fields or the farms. Now our logbook has a bunch of these papers. On it we have the job number, the date, the farm, and the field number, who did it, what time we started, the wind speed, and which direction it was headed, what chemical we were spraying, and if something goes wrong we have a comment for that. Now this runs with the GPS system in the sprayer because it'll track how long you've been spraying that field. It'll give you a duration, plus it'll back your date and time up. And it'll also give you a picture of your field at the end that you put on USB stick and take with you to say whether or not you sprayed around this spot or you left this spot alone. We also have our wind speed reader, this tool, which will also give us temperature, humidity, and different things like that, which you do have to watch sometimes. You do get some chemicals that don't like the heat. Along with that, calculator for calculating mixes. You do get some weird numbers you have to figure out. The last thing we keep in our cab is a spray tip book. In it we have all the capacities and the pressures and the application rate charts in the book for different speeds, which is a reference to set our computer.
Your records.
So the record system is very complete, and thanks to Jeremy, he's done most of this. We've always had a record system. It's happened in the past where chemical companies have challenged us, like, did you really spray it, or when, or maybe it was too hot. And so we've been able to go back to our book and say, yes, this is the date we sprayed, and this is how much we put on, and this is the temperature and the wind speed, and that can be verified by our suppliers that we bought the chemical. And that doesn't happen very often, but it's always good to be prepared that you can back everything up. And not only can we back it up with a book, it is logged in the computer on the GPS system in the sprayer. And like Jeremy said, we has it on a USB chip, and we keep it for several years afterwards so that we know if there is a question, we can go back and look at a picture. And the pictures of the field are very important, because if there has been an overlap or a skip, it will show on the picture. And you'd be surprised, sometimes you go back and why is there a patch of weeds in the middle of the field? And you go look at the picture, yep, ran a little wide there, and it shows up later.